With your acceptance offer, there may be just a nice little letter that says, oh, you've been awarded a scholarship. Great. That is not your full award offer. Your full award offer is going to look something like this. It will have 26, 27. It will have the school, it'll be dated, and it will say estimated. So this is an estimated award. If there is verification to complete, the college is doing that on their end. That is their responsibility. And you at some point will receive a final award offer. But what you're looking for, if you did get a nice letter with the acceptance that said, oh, here's a presidential scholarship for $6,000, you will see that on this official award letter also. If it's a semester school, they're going to break it in two. Oops, sorry. If it's trimesters, they're going to break it out in three. So you're looking at the total. In this case, there's a scholarship, there's a grant, there's $10,000 of free money. They can call it whatever they want. We don't care. We just know that this is free money that we don't have to pay back. Okay. Then loans and work options. This is the self-help money is how we categorize this. So here's some work study. Here's a subsidized loan and an unsubsidized loan. We'll get into that a little bit, and our May call is all about loans. And so this is student. So $3,500 is the maximum subsidized loan that any first year student can receive. $2,000 is the maximum unsubsidized loan that any of your students can receive. So this is a federal loan, no signature, no credit check. They can get that in their own name. And then what the college will do is whatever the difference is to pay for the full cost of going to that school, they will show it down here in a Parent Plus loan and possibly a private loan. And we'll have two line items there. That is the college's answer to how to pay for school. Just go get a loan. So we've pushed and prodded. We just talked to the juniors this week. Please, please, please go figure out with your college financial planner or with us, if you don't have a college financial planner, how we're going to pay for any of these gaps. Okay, so I'll get off my soapbox. You'll see the estimated financial aid award. Also, somewhere on there, you'll see the estimated cost of attendance. At this point, the colleges have not set in stone their expenses for 26, 27. So they will give you estimated fall and spring and a total for tuition, for fees, the food and housing. That's going to depend on the meal plan that your student selects and whether or not they want a single room or a double or whatnot. So that will fluctuate, but you'll see that this is what gets billed to you. These are direct costs. These are billed by the school. That's what comes. These other costs, your student's going to incur along the way. They're going to go to the bookstore and buy books, and they're going to get this calculator and that lab jacket. They're going to buy pizza and get parking tickets and have to do laundry. They're going to drive home or fly home. There may be some loan fees in there. So these are estimated indirect costs that will show in your award letter. And that's on purpose because the award letter is based on the full cost of attendance, which is all the direct costs and the indirect costs. Then in the fall, when the college bills for tuition, fees, room and board, you're just going to see these numbers. Okay. All right. This is another example of an award offer. Not all award letters look the same, but you will know if it is an award offer when it has this federal direct loan on it. That's your clue. Anything else is just a scholarship offer. So this one's formatted a little differently. They've put the tuition and fees down here. They've estimated a double room and a standard meal plan. And then here's books and personal expenses. So direct costs, indirect costs. You'll notice that the direct costs over here is what they're highlighting. So here's our direct cost. Here's our total financial aid package. We have an achievement award, a university grant, a campus grant for 40, and a student loan for 5,500, which gives us the 45.5. You may not feel like a loan is financial aid, but to the college, it is. So they will assume that you're going to take that student loan and calculate that net out of pocket. And then if your award letter does not show parent loan options, that's okay. They're all still available to you. It's just some colleges put those on the award letter and others do not. But you absolutely have access to federal loans because you filled out the FAFSA form and or private loans. And again, we'll cover all that in May. You're not going to go and get secure your loans until like June or July. So we got time. Okay. This is the awards comparison worksheet that is in your files. It's in the financial aid info file. It is a Google sheet that you will click on, you will make a copy of, and then you will edit with your students' information. You'll put the name of the college here, indicate the tuition and fees. If the award letter doesn't have an updated tuition and fee cost of attendance amount, then just use what's in College Planner Pro. And then in the green area is where the gift aid is, the scholarships, the grants, if you're fortunate to get any federal or state grants, those are all going to go here. Your self-help with your loans are going to go here. If you plan on using an institution loan, some colleges will loan you their own money at a reduced rate. If you plan on using the Parent Plus loan, all of that goes in here. And then the rest of the sheet will tabulate out for you automatically. And then we can compare the bottom line net cost for each of your schools. So do your best on this worksheet, share it with us in the chat, and this gives us context to have these appeal conversations with you or have these conversations about net cost and translating these award letters. Okay. It gives us context to talk about appeals. So, the most straightforward reason to appeal is going to be a special circumstance. It is the type of an appeal that the college is most able and willing to consider. So, that may be that y'all used your 24 taxes, your 2024 taxes. So, maybe your 2025 taxes, the adjusted gross income is less. We lost a job, we got our hours cut, we retired, whatever that is, your income on your 2025 tax return, your adjusted gross income, excuse me, your adjusted gross income on your 2025 tax return is less than the adjusted gross income on your 24 tax return that went into your FAFSA. That is a very legitimate appeal. Maybe somebody lost their job. Maybe you're paying private school tuition for other siblings that are younger, or you have other siblings that you're supporting in college. Maybe there was a death or disability of a parent. You have other family members in your home that you're supporting, or you're regularly sending money to other family members. That kind of stuff doesn't go on the FAFSA. And sometimes we might have talked when we were filing your financial aid forms and said, let's hold that information back from the CSS profile. Let's make sure that our students get in, and then we'll talk about it later. So some of you may have recalled that. High medical expenses. Families are dynamic. There may be a divorce or separation since we filed financial aid forms. Sometimes there's a one-time increase of income. Maybe you had to harvest some gains to pay some bills. Maybe there was a bonus at work. Maybe there was an inheritance, but it happened one time and it's never going to happen again. That sometimes is, well, we can always appeal it. And then it depends on what it was in the conversation around that, as to how receptive a college is going to be. Um, Businesses go down, so we can talk about those, and then business losses as well. So those are hard and fast reasons that will always appeal. Then there are other reasons to appeal. And these are more about the incentives that Chris was talking about in the beginning. Maybe you have two or three award letters from really great schools and they're all just off a bit. And so you'd really like to go to school number two, but school number one has a lower net price. That's a conversation to have as long as your student is elevated in the class, they've demonstrated their interest, they've done all the things that we've coached them to do along the way, then it's very easy to have a conversation and say, we love you, you love us. We can go over here for, $5,000 less. Is there anything more that you could do? Like they would absolutely much rather have you there for that little bit less money because it's pennies to them, right? It's a big deal to us. But they would much rather grant that and get you to say yes than have you walk away entirely and go to a different school. That's why we say we have to wait until closer to May because we need those colleges to start feeling that. Um, we have a lot of historical data in GradBetter about percentage of need met. Maybe that school just didn't do their part. And so that can be a reason. Single parents, my heart goes out to you. Every day I will appeal a single parent award letter. You have one income. There is no other person, adult in that household to go and get a job. And so multiple kids in college, your family income's been high for the last few years and now it isn't. The other reasons really are up to you and it's going to be multiple reasons. I'll say we're going to appeal with everything in the kitchen sink. Okay, so consider what do you have? What can you put in this letter to compel the school? I understand everyone wants money, additional money right now, but what do you have that you can put in this type of letter that would compel them to give you more? And unfortunately, sometimes there isn't anything. It is what it is. But other times there are valid reasons. And when there are valid reasons, we absolutely want to bring those to the table and have them consider that. So the things to consider. You are not going to apply to or appeal to every single school. It is a waste of their time and it is a waste of your time. So you're going to wait again and fill out your worksheet, get the awards to the schools that your student is still most interested in. If you applied to 10, 15, 20 schools, there's probably schools on that list that have just lost their interest and fallen off. So get those financial aid awards from the schools that your student is truly considering. Narrow those down to two to three. Okay. Then is your student in the top of the freshman class at those schools? Are they elevated? Are they in the top 10% of the applicant pool at each school? If they're in the middle, if they're below the middle, that college is not going to be compelled to work with you on an appeal because there's so many other students ahead of yours in line that they will be working with. Okay. So we want to be at the front of the pack. Are there comparable offers from similar colleges? And this is key. We have to compare and appeal apples to apples. I can't take an award from the University of Oregon, where in my state, and take that to Stanford. Those two don't compare. We can't take you get the point. We can't take a Colorado State award and go appeal Baylor. Um, it needs to be apples to apples. We need to look at SAT, ACT, GPA. We need to look at size and location, public, private. Are these comparable schools? Are they competing schools? If you remember, we've talked a lot about these schools being a business. So in their business industry, are they competitors? And when two schools are competitors all day, every day, and a student is elevated in the class and comes with an appeal, then that's where we can be confident we'll get some good results. So the other thing is, does this college that we want to appeal to, do they have extra money to give? A public school that is publicly funded and runs on tuition just isn't. They're going to come with their best merit offer, and that's it. If this is a special circumstance appeal and this change that we're talking about drops your SAI down into getting a Pell Grant range or down to getting a Cal Grant if you live in California, then yes, you can get extra federal money, extra state money, but extra college money from that university. It's really going to depend on whether that university has that money or not. Okay. The next bullet, appeals are made based on the that should say net cost of the college, not the specific scholarship amount awarded. So we're not going to be able to say, oh, I got $25,000 from this school and you only gave me 15. That's not how that works. They look at the net cost and we can say, my net cost over there is 30. You want me to pay 35. Is there anything more that you can do? That's how that conversation goes. And then we look at the enrollment yield. We've taught some about that, and that is in your College Planner Pro. How many students do they accept versus how many actually enroll at that university? The higher that number, the less likely we are going to be successful in an appeal. Last week, I had a conversation with a family, and we were talking about University of San Diego. They have the family, I'll tell the longer story. We got time. The family went to the financial aid meeting at University of San Diego, and University of San Diego said, we come with our best offer right out of the gate. Do not bother asking us for more. There is no more. And that's what they said in this meeting. And then I spoke to them and I said, okay, tell me more. You're from Colorado, they're in California. What other schools did you apply to? There were competing schools. I said, let's look at the enrollment yield of University of San Diego. It is 12%. And I said, if this was your business and 12% of your customers were buying from you, and 88% of them were not. And one of them said, hey, can you work me a deal on this and give me a little discount? Would you say no? No. And they were like, oh, okay. So publicly, yes, they can't say, sure, appeal. Everyone and their cousin is going to come and they'll be completely overwhelmed. So talk to us, use this information. We will be very frank as to whether or not we think this appeal will be successful. We will not say no. If you want to give it a try, give it a try. We're going to hope for the best, and cross our fingers along with you. And when you're successful, we will be as thrilled as you are. But we will be pretty honest and say, I just don't think this is going to work. Let's try, but I just don't think it's going to work. Or this is really good. I'm excited. I'm competitive. I like to win. We'll give you that, but we don't write the checks either. And we have the data to go off the historical numbers. Colleges are new businesses to some degree every year. And so it makes this part of the process, I know, exhausting for you. It's pretty exciting for us. This is my favorite time of year.